Good evening. Welcome to the show. Welcome to It's Not an Orb, It's Dust with myself, Peter N, with Kathy and with Trevor. Just starting off with a brief introduction about ourselves. My name's Peter N, and I've been a paranormal investigator for 28 years now. Coming on 28 years. I'm originally from London, England. I've traveled most of the world and investigated in Australia, New Zealand, and obviously North America. I'm an ex-director of TAPS. I am a documenting investigator for Ordained Exorcist down in Washington State and a co-founder of the Canadian Paranormal Society, along with an author. I'm also an author and published 3 books. And I'll hand the mic over to Kathy.
It's always hard to follow that.
Sorry.
You have to go last. I think that's only fair. So, because Peter could just listing his credentials could take up an entire show.
I'm sorry. Right. So you know I lived in Canada for some time, can't you? I'm sorry.
Sorry, I'm so awesome.
In a British accent, of course.
British accent.
No kidding. I'm Kathy Rogers. I am a psychic medium. I have my own podcast actually on another channel called Oracle Intuitions. But I was a paranormal investigator for over 10 years, and I really don't know what else to add. I'm going to leave it there. I'm not an author.
And you're just fantastic, all-round fantastic woman. That's it.
I want to say happy birthday to your son, Mason. I know he's watching the show. Happy birthday, Mason.
Happy birthday, Mason.
Yeah.
There he is. That's his screenshot of himself.
That's a great screenshot. It's better than my screenshot.
See you in an hour.
And my name is Trevor Palmer. I'm the executive director of Western Idaho Paranormal, based out of Caldwell, Idaho. And I've been a paranormal investigator for about 10 years. And that's pretty much the limit of my scope. No authorship. I haven't been to a lot of places. I'm just here. I'm just honored to be here, so I'm the eye candy.
As we are honored to have you. You're the eye candy. I don't know what the hell I am. I'm just here.
Awesome. So how have you guys been anyway? Kathy, how was your week?
Actually, it was really good. Yeah, it was all right. We, I told you guys we were doing some renovating and stuff like that. So, it's funny how you renovate one thing and then another thing breaks down. And you're like, well, of course that would happen. Why wouldn't that happen? Kind of in the middle of that. So you're like, this is going really good. This looks great. And then my bathroom light decided that it was going to go bzz, bzz, and I'm like, cool. So now I got to find an electrician for that puppy. That'll be fun. But it's like one thing after the next. It's all good though. You know what? I'm just happy.
Kathy, you've done electrics before, and I'm sure you can do it again.
I know.
I have that almost faith in you, rather than
I know. There's pretty much nothing I haven't done when it comes to renovating, so I'm quite proud of myself in that way. But sometimes you look at something and you go, "Oh, do I have the energy to even just? Yeah, okay, I'll do it." And you always end up happy afterwards, but there is that challenge.
I get very pissed off when I have to pay a contractor to come out to do work when I can do it myself.
Mm-hmm.
It just really kind of puts a lump in my back of my throat, and that's why I do everything around.
Actually, it's sort of funny. We were talking about that in the car today because I wanted to go get. I spend my life at Canadian Tire or Home Home Depot. Like literally, that's my shopping trip.
Same me. That's my life.
Yeah. And we're on our way to go get an electric sander. And I said to my son, I was talking about this stupid sander, and I said, I wonder what people did before the internet to look up reviews on a product. Like I don't remember what we used to do. Like
we used to buy it and just take our chances.
Yeah, like.
Yep.
Old school. Trevor, how you
actually had to subscribe back then. You had to subscribe to magazines. So magazines.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you look in magazines for reviews.
Popular Mechanics and things like that. people would leave reviews on those, but my kids have never even seen a magazine, so yeah. But my week's been great. I've really just been focused a lot on my kids lately, high school sports, things like that. So I got my boys wrestling for the first year, and we're having a lot of fun with that. Spent the week just kind of tooling around in my garage. I like to tinker. I don't mess with electricity though. That's all hocus pocus, smoke and mirrors and black magic to me. So I always would hire somebody to come do my electricity, but that simply because I don't want to be a smoking crater later on.
Yeah,
you get shocked. So
well, I'm a plumber and electrician by trade, so those two going together, they don't really mix too well, but it's always fun watching the sparks and water and stuff like that.
I love the 4th of July.
Yeah, I know. Couldn't make it my own home. Just put water over a plug socket and away we go. So Lynda,
how was your week, Peter?
What? Yeah, my week. Sorry, yeah. This weekend, just been celebrating Mason's birthday. We went out to a place called Fun Factor, which is kind of like a little, like a fair kind of thing with. We've lost Kathy.
We lost Kathy.
With like little arcade games and stuff like that. So we did that. Then we went to Burger King, and then yesterday we went to a trampoline park. And I'm absolutely exhausted today.
I was gonna say you shared a picture with us. A view at the tramp. I was wondering how that all went, because all I could tell you is I saw you there, and immediately my knees and my back started hurting.
It wasn't. I wasn't very graceful on that trampoline. Believe me, it was. I was probably on it for on and off for about an hour, and I just let the kids do all the work, and they kind of did their thing. But yeah, I'm definitely no spring chicken anymore. That's for sure. But anyway. So this week, Lynda's unfortunately not with us, but we miss you, Lynda, and
miss you, Lynda. Love you.
We're back next week, and we hope you're okay. And yeah, I think you jumped on. No, I don't know if that's you or not, Lynda. No, it's not. Anyway, so this week we have decided to we have decided to launch like a subject special where we basically both myself and Trevor on our group pages advertised specialized subjects within the paranormal. I was quite impressed with the amount of comments that came forward, and so what Trevor's done is he's put a series of subjects in a hat, and we're going to draw them one by one. And we're just gonna give everyone our opinions on it.
Perfect hat for it.
Look at that.
Yeah. That my 4th of July hat.
Oh right, I thought that was actually a French hat. Then sorry. Sorry.
Well,
the color's not too good at the moment on my computer.
So I've got all. So basically, our viewers and our friends. We wrote down all the different topics that they want us to talk about. We're just going to draw them randomly out of the hat, and I got the first one here.
And the winner is
the birdie word is first subject. See if you can see it.
Can't see it.
Bigfoot.
Bigfoot.
That's my really horrible handwriting, so
that's okay. It's better than
Bigfoot.
Mine. Bigfoot. Kathy. Bigfoot. Oh, Kathy's got bad internet. So,
is Kathy frozen again? Or maybe she's just pretending because she doesn't want to talk about Bigfoot.
No, perhaps she's just thinking.
Bigfoot's cool because I grew up in the Pacific Northwest.
Yes.
Of the United States. So I grew up in Oregon, and Bigfoot's a big legend out in Oregon and Washington specifically. But I know that there's a lot of folklore in other places too about Yetis and things like that. What do you have in Canada?
Well, we have I'm on the West Coast, the same as you, and BC is predominantly one of the biggest hotspots in North America for Bigfoot, all the way up to Kitimat in northern BC. There's sightings all over the map. There's a number of group enthusiasts that do the same as well. That a number of groups up and down the coast that actually, have that as a pastime, just going out looking for Bigfoot and stuff like that. here we I think it was probably about a year and a half ago, we went out and filmed. We actually went Bigfoot hunting as well with Chris Bowes, a local Aboriginal friend of ours, and we went through kind of we went through some of the areas that have been noted within the local First Nations band that have had alleged sightings over the last couple of centuries, I would imagine. And it's very obviously that subject with Aboriginals is very, very sensitive in the relation to it's a lot of, it spins onto a lot of their beliefs as well, about their culture as well. Myself personally, I've never experienced anything myself. There's been tons of sightings up and down BC. You never say never, but I do. I guess it depends on what way you look at Bigfoot being as a being. Like, I don't believe for 1 minute it's a being the same as us. I think possibly that there is some overlap with Bigfoot and what we believe in the manifestation of ghosts, that kind of thing. Because obviously by now we would have found the carcass of a dead Bigfoot somewhere. It would, that would kind of come up. I believe that there could be some relation to that, but I like to believe, but I don't know.
Yeah, I do a lot of hunting. I do a lot of hiking, mountain climbing, things like that. And I've hunted all over Oregon, places like that. I've never seen any sign or anything I would consider to be a sign of Yeti. I've never really been looking very hard either. But I've spent a lot of nights out in those areas, never heard the howling or anything that I would consider something that I didn't already know that, what it was, coyotes and cougars and things like that. But I think back to a story that my mom had told me from when she was younger, when she, was still a little girl living with her parents. And my grandmother had come home and told this story that she was coming down the highway and she looked up and she thought she saw two bikers off in the distance standing in the middle of the road. She said they were bikers because they just kind of looked very, very dark. She thought they were dressed in leather and the heads didn't look right. And maybe they had helmets on, but as she was driving and wasn't getting any closer, she realized how big the two figures were. And they ran off the side of the road before she got up there, and she went up there and found the Bigfoot tracks. Then, so she told this story to my mom, and my mom was like, okay, well, show me. And so she drove her out there, and my mom swears up and down that she saw those Bigfoot tracks. Wow. So, could they have been bears? I don't know. So, there's so many. To me, it's a lot like UFOs. There's so many people who, they have those pictures, but they're always grainy and pixelated and blurry, and you can't make them out.
Exactly. Like we only know that much about the universe and how it works. Like, and our brains only function to a certain capacity. It's the same as our hearing as well. It's just like it's much the same as like ghosts as well. Like for me to automatically discount the fact that Bigfoot doesn't exist would kind of be a bit naive or ignorant in my respect.
Right.
We don't know, right? And there's people that have spent most of their lives looking for Bigfoot, and they probably won't find anything. But then on the flip side of that, there's people that have caught that big fish, and they deem it as credible evidence. And who am I to knock that? That's a part of their, what they believe in, and obviously with the Aboriginal side of it as well, more to do with people, Bigfoot being in as a part of people's culture. I can't knock that. That's a part of their culture, and for me to dismiss that is basically the same as someone dismissing God and stuff like that. I can't, it's not for me to say, kind of thing. But interesting subject.
Well, I got to think, if there is an animal or a being such as Bigfoot, I would assume it would have to be pretty intelligent to remain unseen. And we talk about, well, we've never come across a Bigfoot carcass, but I mean, I've never really, hiking in the woods, come across a human carcass either. So because we take our dead and we move them and things like that. And so there might be something to that. I'm with you, Peter. It's like it would be very audacious to say, oh, no way, not possible. Because, that's one thing that we discover as paranormal investigators. We don't know what we don't know.
Exactly. Exactly. What about you,
Cathy?
Cathy?
You got anything?
Do I believe in Bigfoot? I think I'm going to take a lot of what you guys said. I mean, personally, I've never seen it. I've never experienced it. I don't know if up until just maybe a few years ago, if I even really gave it much thought, to be honest, besides maybe off of an episode of X-Files or, something like that. Like it's never really been one of those things I've had an interest because I'm in the city. Am I glitching out? Or am I okay?
You're fine.
Okay. You're doing good.
But I mean,
well,
we're losing her again. Doggone it.
We are now. Cathy, nope.
Doggone it. But yeah.
Personally, I find it weird that people say, yeah.
And I agree. I mean, it's like
no, true words spoken. That's for sure. Mm-hmm. Okay. I think we have lost Cathy. So Trevor, we shall let's move
carry on.
Yep.
All right, let's go for another one here. Let's see here.
Drum roll.
All right, I'm not going to try to hold it up this time because it's too hard. Oh, okay. Provoking spirits.
Oh, this one. Okay.
So what this is talking about is during a investigation, a paranormal investigation, what was our stance on provoking a spirit? And either, and I'm assuming like in a negative connotation, really trying to get something angry, riled up, so we can get activity. Now, I think there is one of the paranormal shows, that's kind of how they base their whole investigation. That's what they do. They go in with the intent of riling things up. What do you think, Peter?
Let's just bring Cathy on. Cathy's back. Hey,
there she is.
It's always that fine line, and by definition, I've never provoked in relation to what I deem as provoking. Now, on investigations, I would ask particular questions in relation to, i.e., the nature, how did you die and stuff like that. A lot of people deem that as being provoking. In my eyes, it's more of shaking that hornet's nest and like effing and blinding, calling someone out. Like the way I look at it being is that spirit was potentially once a human being, and I would talk to them the same way I would talk to a human being. I wouldn't go into someone's house that I've met for the very first time and start effing and blinding at them and stuff like that. And,
exactly.
And it's the same with ghosts as well. And it kind of pisses me off sometimes when I see that on TV because it's, it won't necessarily cause, you won't get paranormal activity for it. That's for sure. And it's just, that's a complete myth. And you're not going to, and if, potentially you're there cursing and swearing at a spirit, you don't know what you're talking to at the end of the day. And it could potentially, and I'm not saying I've ever heard anything to the sort, but it could potentially stir a hornet's nest up and adversely make it worse for yourself one way or another. Whether it becomes physical, whatever. We don't know because, you're talking to something that, we're still trying to figure out their the parameters of, can they work physically or can they just talk and stuff like that? We don't actually know whether a spirit can actually do that. So that's the way I look at it anyway.
Well, a lot of these places we're getting invited to come in and to investigate with the hopes of making things better and providing validation for the people who are having experiences and things like that. We certainly don't want to make it worse, especially if we go into a private residence where we're only going to be there for a night or two. They have to deal with the aftermath of when we leave. And if things were bad before and we go and they bring us in and we're provoking and being disrespectful and, poking the bear, so to speak, they're going to suffer the wrath of whatever's there when we leave, for sure. So I personally don't believe in provoking. I don't think it's a good idea. I think there is, like you said, Peter, there's a difference of asking direct questions and just being blatantly mean and disrespectful. The way I look at it, human spirits, this was somebody's mother, this was somebody's cousin, this was somebody's family member. This was a human being at one point. There's no reason to treat them, less than that. And I have been in a situation where on an old team I was on, one of the investigators deliberately started to provoke the spirits that were there. And we knew that this place was haunted because we'd investigated there many times before. And for whatever reason, he decided to get kind of huffy and puffy with whatever there. And I can tell you that there was a drastic change in the atmosphere and the energy of that investigation. It went from just a very nice, normal, pleasant investigation to a very dark and heavy presence that we were feeling for the rest of the night. And when we talk about people who are having trouble with negative spirits in their homes, one of the things we talk about is how negative energy attracts negative energy. It's kind of the opposite of magnets. It's kind of weird. So if you're coming in with that negative connotations and you're trying to provoke things, you're going to get a negative response in return.
Yeah, I agree, and we just don't know at the end of the day. But I think what could have added to that as well, perhaps most of your team members were actually pissed off at the guy as well.
Yeah, could have been. Yeah, could have been.
Starting mouthing off like he was on a TV.
Oh, I couldn't believe it. I was like, "What are you doing? Are you serious?" But yeah, I mean, it was palpable. It was very, very interesting how the atmosphere just suddenly just changed. So
unbelievable.
It was crazy.
Yeah. Kathy, you're back with us again. Hopefully,
hopefully we'll see how long this lasts, and if I keep going in and out, I don't know. We've been having the last 2 hours. We've been having internet trouble. It's like I don't know what's going on. Anyway, as somebody who, as a medium, I've had connections with spirit. So for me, I have a high respect for them, because whether they're in somebody's house and haunting it or, whatever, or I'm connecting with it as a loved one, I can't even imagine doing a reading for somebody, let's just say, and getting upset with their grandma. Well, you better come through, damn it, bitch. You don't do that. Like it's common respect. It's a matter of speaking to that person as you would wish to be spoken to yourself. But here's the other thing too, is that if you have a member of your team that's into provoking, and a lot of times we'll hear these investigators on TV, do this, do that, touch me, blah, blah, blah. But what if it's not you that they decide to go after? Especially if it's non-human. Now you're just basically setting up your buddy or a teammate or a coworker, and now you're showing disrespect for them as well. It's not just about you. It's like what you guys said about the house. You're leaving that house in a place of disarray. You don't go visit somebody's house and destroy the house while you're there, but you're basically doing that by provoking something. So
it doesn't look very good on yourself either when you go walking into someone's house and you're shouting and screaming and swearing at the top of your lungs
completely unprofessional. It doesn't mean. Now there have been times where I've been, like I said, I'll be very direct. If there are spirits there that, like, we've had claims of family members being pushed downstairs, and things being thrown across the room, like there's some angry spirits, and we'll go and say, hey, that's not okay.
Absolutely.
You can't do that. But in the same way, we do it with a degree of respect.
Yeah.
And we try to empathize a little bit with, hey, we understand there's things changing. You can't change that you can't deal with, but
I've had parents. I remember, especially when entities or spirits are bothering children, and for the most part, they're not trying to hurt the child. They're right there because it's a fascination or a bright light or whatever. But I've said, and parents will say, well, I don't know what to do. And I said, what would you do if you walked into the bedroom and you found a stranger standing there? talk to it. Get the hell out of my kid's room. You can say that. The difference is that you're not saying to it, get out or I'm going to kick your butt and blah, blah, and throw threats at it, because chances are whatever's in that room is bigger and stronger and has all of spirit behind it. Like, you're not going to fight it, right? So why would you even put yourself in that position? But like you said, get out of this room. This is not okay. This is not all right to do that. You know, you're bothering my child. Please leave my child alone. You know, blah, blah. And you can do stuff like that. And if that's not helping, then, you know, you can try other methods, you know, according to a paranormal team, if you call them in, or, you know, priest, medium, whatever it is, right? Make sure they're reputable. But there are other ways to do it. You just don't want to say, well, I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that, and you provoke it by threatening it, because chances are, you know, you don't know what it is. You don't know what's standing there. And it might be, you know, it might be Aunt Betty, and it might not be, but you don't know. Right. So threatening it is just being stupid. You don't, it's kind of like, you don't know if somebody has a gun or a knife. Treat it that way.
That's a good one. I like that. You know, exactly. So perfect.
Give it the same fact, I guess. Yeah.
All right. We ready for the next one?
You bet.
Yep.
That's a good topic. I like that topic. That provoking that was a good one.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, okay. Here we go. This one we're going to get a little bit more personal. Peter Wren's shoe size. I'm just kidding. That's not what it said. 10. All right, Peter, and I'm kind of curious about this myself, but favorite investigation equipment and least favorite investigation equipment.
Okay. Do you want to start, Kathy?
Oh, sure. So least favorite would probably be, I don't know all the names because it's been a while and there's been more added since, you know, but I would have to say that I think it's the Ovilus. Is that it? The one that just
that's one of them.
Goes out random
spits out random words. I think kind of messed up. There was like apps when we did our apps last week. They had stuff like that on there.
Yeah. I have no interest in that, quite honestly. I think you're just basically wasting your time for randomly generated names or whatever words to pop through. Favorite though, temperature gauge. Definitely the temperature gauge. I think that for me has always produced the best results.
Yep.
For me. Like it, you know, that I've always found that's been the most accurate. It's not something that you can screw with, you know, it's not like, you know,
You're aware of the controlled environment as well, because if the temperature drops, you know, it could be one of a few things with, you know, like the heating's come on, someone's opened the door or something like that. But with things like EMF, I take that with a pinch of salt. It could be 1,000,001 natural reasons why that's actually, you know, the EMF's fluctuated. But anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about your go-to then? What do you, Kathy?
My what?
Your go-to. What's your favorite?
My favorite would be the.
Oh, sorry, thermometer. Sorry.
Yeah.
Weekend.
I was like, what did I miss?
Yeah. So with me, just broadly, my favorites. I like audio equipment. I've got very top of the range voice recorders. I have now since Christmas anyway. A lot of the questionable material I've got over the years, majority of it's come from actual like EVPs and disembodied voices and stuff like that. I also am a fan of temperature, the same as Kathy. I use the thermal imager as well, which I've got an adapter for my phone. And also as well, I have still cameras, which are basically on motion sensors, and I simulate with light and simulate with different lights and IR and full spectrum, the full range of full spectrum, whether it's IR or UV, that kind of thing. Dislike, I'm not a fan of EMF. I don't, only when we do like base readings and stuff like that in people's homes, because obviously that isn't, you know, a fact that it could constitute to certain elements of people thinking things that's paranormal. I dislike basically all the gadgets and gizmos you see in these ghost hunting stores, things like the Ovilus, anything that people deem as a piece of equipment that can be manipulated by spirit to come out with a sound or some kind of beep. It really gets to me because it doesn't work like that. There's tons of variables why it operates and stuff like that. Ovilus, top of my head, SLS cameras as well. Not a fan of them. I buy into the concept of what he's trying to achieve, but if in order to use the SLS, as to what Lynda alluded to last week, you need a controlled environment. It's almost as if you need a room that is pure, there's no objects in there whatsoever. It's one color, and it has no air movements in there whatsoever. That's the only way that you're going to get a controlled experiment with an SLS camera. I think that's it broadly. Trevor?
Yeah. Well, I like a lot what our viewer just posted about, his own sixth sense. I think the investigator is the best piece of equipment that you have in on an investigation. But as far as electronics go, I'm with you, Peter. I think digital voice recorders by far are my favorite. One, because that's where we catch the vast majority of our evidence, and two, it's something that I don't have to mess around with. Push record, we set it down, and we can go and investigate. It's not something that it's not distracting. It doesn't create a lot of, it's not something I got to hold on to and keep things in frame or anything like that. And we have the least amount of technical with the voice recorders. My least favorite, I don't like noisy things. So spirit boxes, I can't stand them.
Oh yeah.
Those drive me insane. People, I know there's people out there that swear by them. They think they're great. I've tried them, and aside from just listening to that, and they pick out a word. Well, of course you're going to hear a word. You're cycling through radio stations, for crying out loud. They're just noisy. And I hate REM pods. I hate them. I can't stand them. They just go off and they scream and they're loud and nobody knows why. Because they just don't. Yeah, I don't know. I'm with you, Peter. Things that make a lot of noise, I can't stand. I like my investigations to be quiet. I like to be able to rely on my senses and intuition, and then whatever I can catch on audio. And if we get lucky and I have a video camera rolling and we catch something on that, great. But 90% of the stuff I catch on video is actually audio evidence. So
right,
it's funny, like and you've nailed it across the head, because I use the spirit box, but I use it in a different way where I abstract all the static and stuff like that. But it's with REM pods, and I have a couple, and I use them just for when I'm trying to use them as a trigger object, rather than put them in an area and just wait and see what happens with them and stuff like that. But the problem with things like that is that, for example, if it's me, you, Trevor, and Kathy, we're all sitting in a room, and we're getting into a groove with like an EVP session, and we're getting responses and stuff like that, and then all of a sudden the REM pod goes off. That's it. It's killed the passion. Like the energy in the room's totally changed, because everyone is now focused on that piece.
Exactly. You get super hyper focused on that shiny object.
And then the atmosphere that we had in there before, whatever reasoning we had to manifest that one voice, that murmur, that yes, no answer, whatever, has now gone, because that device that's in the corner, it's screaming its head off. So anyway.
Absolutely. Yeah. Listening to that noise. It was actually, you actually did that impersonation really well, to be honest. I was like, you got some beatboxing.
I got really good at that because, I have 6 kids, and when I'm trying to yell at one of them, I have to go through all 6 of their names before I get there. So it's like, all right, that's a good one. I like that subject. That was a good one.
Perfect.
Ready for the next?
Yes, and audience, if you're all you guys tuning in, feel free to jump in as well if you've got any suggestions or any comments for these subjects.
This will be an interesting one. Angels. We'll talk about angels. Angels are interesting. I'm really curious to hear. I'm mostly curious to hear what Kathy has to say about this. So, because if anybody's got experience with that, I think that would be you.
You know, I mean, you got to remember, this is just my personal, opinion, all of that. I don't expect anyone, to believe or not believe. I work personally with the angelic realm. So for me, they're very existent. They're very there. They're very, have, actually it was interesting. I think one of my first experiences with an angel or an angelic being, I guess, would be when we were doing we used to do, public tours. Like we would take people out to a particular cemetery, one that we knew, or one that we knew we went, that was open 24 hours. So, that kind of thing, where you could wander the ground. And we were with one of our teammates. They were there at the cemetery with us. And I remember walking through, and he was standing, looking at something, and I saw the biggest angel right behind him. And it just like that. And it was probably the first time I've ever seen anything like this. I was blown away, and I probably just stood there for a few minutes, like just in shock. I mean, it was very, I guess, like very see-through. It's not like anyone else really saw it. We did have another medium on the team that came up to me, and they said, from the way that you're looking, I can tell that you see it too. And I went, like, I've never seen anything like this, and it only lasted for a few minutes. But in that moment, I think that I was just, you're gobsmacked is really the only way. But I always had believed in them. Interesting enough, probably about less than a week later, that teammate actually passed away.
Oh my goodness.
And so it was, it was one of those things where you're just like, did this angel show up as, telling us that this was going to happen? We really didn't know. But, when the work that I do, I work very closely with the angelic realm. And so for me, I do believe in them. But I also, very strongly believe in God. Saying that, you also have to believe, you can't just have light, you have to have dark. Mm-hmm. But my focus is towards the light, I guess, is the best way to say it. So, yeah. That's my answer.
Trevor?
Well, yeah, Kathy, I agree. If there's demons, there has to be angels. There has to be two sides. There's two sides to every coin: light, dark, hot, cold. So somebody said 6 kids. Yeah, 6 kids.
You look so good for having 6.
Yeah, you should see my wife.
Right? Yeah, she's amazing.
My wife is an angel. So anyway,
I bet she's watching too. That's why you said it.
She might be hiding behind my curtain. I don't know. So anyway, I have a religious view of angels as well. I think a lot of people have different beliefs about what angels are. They're these otherworldly beings, things like that. I kind of lean more towards a lot of these angels were just people like us. A lot of them maybe were our family members, our guardian angels. I mean, who better to take care of us than the ones that our loved ones that have passed before us? When I was a very young child, I remember laying in my bedroom at night with the door open, and I used to see shadow people walking around in my living room. And I was way too young to understand what I was seeing. But one night there was another one of these figures, only it was the opposite of a shadow. It was very light in color, but it didn't light up the room or anything. It was just like a figure that was just a yellowish, goldish light. Right. And I don't know if that was an angel I hope it was. I kind of like to think maybe it was just somebody coming to take a look in on me. Of course, I was like 3 years old and I was terrified because there was something in my room and I didn't know what it was. But I had a good friend when I was struggling with some things. She is a spiritual healer. I'm not sure what you would call her, but she was talking about she was kind of looking at my guardian angels and talking about how they are. I have a legion of these angels, and I thought it was interesting to use the term legion because angels and demons are kind of almost interchangeable there. But she talked about how that they're there, that they're with us, and that they're there to help us and to protect us, and we have to kind of learn how to use them to help us out through our lives and stuff. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's a fascinating subject, and I would think it'd be really interesting to see. Sometimes I really wish I could see some of the things that you see, Kathy. I think it would be pretty amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I think that there is that difference, and again, working with the light is so much. It's so different. I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, you got bad energy kind of nonsense or whatever. It might be there. Does that make sense? But the way that you encounter it, or the way that you are able to, I guess it's the way that you explain it to a person, because, people hear something like that. I mean, we all have a bit of negative energy in us, right? I mean,
Sure.
we encounter different people. All of our interactions have different energy. And so we're going to carry some of that energy with us. And then there's the people that can, there's the people that can switch that energy away. And there's the people that hang on to it and make it a part of themselves. And, and a lot of those people will be like, well, I'm empathic, so I hang on to all this energy. No, that's nonsense. You can let it go and move on with your day. But it's when you start working with the light, you actually start really seeing a lot more light. I guess that's the best way to say it. Yeah.
But again, it's like I said, it seems like when we're dealing with the spiritual world, you got to think it's kind of like the opposite of magnets, where a negative energy will attract negative energy, positive energy will attract the positive.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. 100%.
I think with me, like you said earlier on, Trevor, like a lot of in different religions and different cultures, angels are represented in different ways. And what you're saying with demons and angels and stuff like that, that's a kind of a more representation, more with religion, that kind of thing. You go to places like Ireland, and their folklore is based around angels and that kind of thing. And it's not necessarily like angels as in demons and stuff like that. It's more of a kind of an urban myth in areas and stuff like that where angels have been seen, that kind of thing. And a lot of Eastern Europe has the same methodology as well. With me, I believe in something. I don't know whether it's defined as an angel or anything like that. But as you guys know, Trevor and Kathy know that I was sick about 3 years ago, and over the course of probably about 10 years before that, I almost died probably about 9 times. And I had one near-death experience where it was very kind of graphic for me in my mind and stuff like that, where I had an encounter with something. And I believe that person that I encountered was an angel. When I basically went under, and I went under for some time, and then I was brought back up again. And yeah, I've had things go on in my life as well where things have happened, and I've always sensed that there's always been that guardian angel around me as well. Like I've had people, one famous medium in Vancouver actually said that my grandfather was with me, and she basically rolled it all the way down to the description and gave me his full name as well, because he follows me around, and that was very obviously a graphic detail in relation to him. And it was, for me, it's compelling being skeptical about stuff like that as well. But yeah, I believe there's something, and by definition, is it an angel? Yeah, if it was, yeah, I believe for sure.
That's super cool. Yeah. I heard a story like that years ago. Somebody was telling a story about a near-death experience that they'd had that, and it was interesting the amount of detail that he went into. And and again, this was a story that somebody was telling, but he talked about how, he had actually passed on. His body was still there being kept alive by machines, and he was being guided out by one of his older family members that had passed on before him, telling him, hey, it's not your time. We're going to, this is what we got to do. And they, all of a sudden they're like, he was like whisked away to this other building. It was like, and it was a state capitol somewhere where his brother was a state senator. And he watched this family member walk down to his brother and whisper something in his ear, and then turned around and come back. And all of a sudden his brother stood up and left, said, I have to go.
Yeah.
And got out and went, because he was prompt. And he talked to allegedly they went and talked to this person and, hey, did this happen? He said, yeah, I all of a sudden had this strange feeling that I needed to leave and call my brother's family and found out that his brother had this wreck and crazy stuff. So I don't know. Yeah, it's pretty interesting stuff.
with me, I kind of buried it when I came out of my transplant for a good couple of years, and it was only when I was talking to another friend of mine and we were interviewing her on the show, Angela, that she started talking about a near-death experience, and it was just like I went through exactly the same thing as what she went through. And like when we were off air as well, we were talking about our feelings and stuff like that. And I kind of kept it to myself because it was a lot of the things I felt at the time if I was to say it to someone now, was very selfish, because I wanted to step over and this person didn't want me to step over. And it was just having her relay what I felt at the time. There's a lot of parallels. I know, like, science believes that you starve your oxygen, your brain gets starved of oxygen. You go through that kind of feeling as well. But there was a lot of things that came out of it that changed my life, and which would change anyone's life. But things that happened during that time actually came true as well. The things that were said. So with me, I believe for sure.
The weird thing is that they say that it's this brain function that's happening, but at the same degree, I mean, how does everybody have the same vision?
There you go.
That doesn't make any sense, or how does everybody have the same, whatever it is that's happening, and you hear so many of the same stories. But here's the thing is that just in my work, and I mean, even people that we've had on the show and other mediums that I've encountered, there have been things that have been said or done, or there's no way, that this, it's not like especially when you hear something in your head and you know it, and you're conversing with that spirit and you're replaying what it is that you're being told to somebody, and you can see that person's face just go,
yeah,
there's no way that you could, like,
well, it was, and it wasn't so much that, Cathy, it was the things that were said as well when I was at that time, and I took that away, and it's actually things that happened. So I'm not going to go too deep obviously, because there's an audience here as well, but there was things that were said that actually happened, and there was things that were said to me about my life that I had to do. And then it was only a year or so later I figured out why those things were said to me. And but anyway, moving on.
That's awesome.
That's amazing.
That's awesome. All right. I think we have time for one more, right? Probably at least one more.
Cool.
Let's see what this one is. Okay, yeah. This one may not go too long. All right. Favorite and least favorite paranormal shows.
Oh, okay. Oh my God.
I know which one Peter likes.
I know. Sorry, I'll read.
I'll start. I would say, I don't know about, okay. So I would have to say, God, I can't remember the name of the show though. I know that I'll describe it, and I'm sure that a lot of readers or a lot of viewers will know what it is. It's with Amy, and then she works with the detective, and they go to
Dead Files, right?
Huh?
Isn't that Dead Files?
Yes, yeah. I think that's one of my favorites. I really do. I really enjoy that show. I don't really watch a lot of paranormal shows to to be honest. But if I happen to see that it's on TV, for sure I'll watch it. I think it's a good show. I really enjoy it. And Amy April Allen, that's her name. And I really do enjoy it. I think a lot of times I'll be watching it and I'm not knowing the background or what she's going to say, and I'll sit there and I'll be writing down my own stuff. And so when she'll say something or whatever, I like doing the comparison and seeing what she's come up with to what I've come up with. It's kind of fun. It's my own little brain tease, I guess, I do it for me. Least favorite show. Can anyone guess, Peter, what my least favorite paranormal show would possibly be?
It's not my show, is it?
No. Paranormal State. And
yes.
Yeah. That could be a whole episode right there of how much I do not like the main host of. But that's a personal thing. That's a personal encounter. That's a personal, thing that I'm not particularly fond of this particular person. But Paranormal State is not my. It is the show that I absolutely won't ever watch.
Interesting. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'll start with my least favorite show, and this is categorized in respect. I don't watch TV. I haven't watched TV in a very, very long time. I just don't have time. My least favorite show that I'd probably turn off would be the recent Ghost Hunters show with Ghost Nation as well, because hear me out first, and it's because the concept hasn't changed over the years, and it's very that whole concept in the show has become very stale in relation to what the delivery is on the show and stuff like that, and it's not very entertaining for me, because it's every show is the same as what they did 15 to 20 years ago. My favorite show would be We Want to Believe, because it's my show. Probably for entertainment.
This is the best show. Hello.
I know it's the best.
Right.
But, I say categorized in relation for entertainment, because I only watch these shows for entertainment. I would probably say Ghost Adventures, because of the sheer comical sense and the.
It is entertaining. It is entertaining.
It is entertaining, and whether you believe it or whether you don't, I find it very entertaining, and they, even though they baffle us with BS on the show, it's for me it's entertaining. I enjoy watching them freak themselves out, and they've done very well out of it. So
that's a good, yeah. And I guess that's something you got to take into consideration too, is what is the reason that you're watching these shows? Are you looking to gain some form of education out of it? Are you trying to learn something about the paranormal, or are you just looking to be entertained? Because that's, I think, pretty much every show out there, that's what they want to do. They're out there to entertain you. Originally, I was kind of watching it more or less to understand what it was that Ghost Hunters did. And so I really enjoyed the first few seasons of Ghost Hunters with Taps, because in my mind, that portrayed the most realistic version of an actual paranormal investigation, where you go, you sit around and you talk to the walls all night, and then you don't get anything. And that's just kind of the truth of it. I mean, it's not real exciting most of the time. They portrayed that. And then all of a sudden, like after so many seasons, I think they were running the risk of getting canceled. And all of a sudden they started catching stuff all the time, and things started happening on camera.
That's what I was alluding to as well. It became all of a sudden over the most recent seasons, they start adding the dum dum, the theaterized music and that kind of thing. It's just like, I'd rather see how it is rather than adding that Hollywood glamour to it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's where they kind of went wrong. And it's just me being honest, because it's, you know, we openly want it portrayed of how we actually investigate, and like 9 times out of 10 it's freaking boring wherever we go, because you're sitting in a room and you're talking to yourself and nothing happens until that moment it does happen.
Now, the series that I've been on the fence on for a little while is the a haunting series. It comes from Saginaw, Michigan, I believe. Haunted Saginaw. I think it's pretty interesting. The concept is actually pretty solid. I mean, they spend 600-700 hours usually investigating a location, and some of the evidence they collect, if it's on the up and up, is pretty darn amazing. But I don't disagree with their methodology as far as their investigations and things like that. So it's just, you know, if you see something on television, though, you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt, and you know, and I'll leave it at that. But I do enjoy that. My least favorite would probably have to be Haunted Highways. Haunted Highways, because they came to Idaho and they made it so I couldn't get into another location, because they left their fishing line tied to doors and chairs and stuff, and made a mess. And yeah. So I was kind of like, all right, you're out. So
yeah,
it's pretty ridiculous.
That is. How many highways are really that haunted that you could actually make a freaking series of it, Lo?
I don't. Well, it was weird. They weren't even investigating a highway; they were investigating a hotel. So, you know, it was just called. I guess people were running out of names for shows. So,
but they actually contacted me a few years ago when I was part of VPS, when they were actually putting the show together, and they asked me if I wanted to apply to be on the show, and I was just like, not really. And they were like, well, can you give us content? And I'm like, to be honest with you, you can throw a dart at a map and come up with certain areas where there's alleged hauntings wherever you go in BC. Like, and I struggled to think that how they make so much content for a series, but I don't know.
I don't even know if they're still on or not. So I'm like you, Peter. I don't watch a ton of television, so.
We have to give a shout out to Lynda's show, Paranormal Survivor, though. I think.
Oh yes, yeah. That actually that was
I like that. I like every episode that she is on.
Yes.
Well, I actually like documentary shows as well. Like I don't, and there is a delineation between, you know, the entertainment shows like Ghost Hunters, Ghost Adventures, and stuff like that. But I like the documentary shows where they talk to real witnesses and stuff like that, and they do kind of reenactments as well. I like that sometimes, and you know, some of it is blown out of proportion, but to me, it makes it a little bit more real in my own head. Having a person, you know, Joe Smith talk about their experiences and stuff like that. And sometimes they get pretty emotional as well, which obviously something did happen for them to react the way they did on those shows, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Great.
Anyway, I
think
we're going to continue this next week, right? Like,
yeah, we can.
We still got several topics that we never touched.
You can draw it out your French hat, and we can
America. So, and if our fans, our viewers, if you have more ideas of things you'd like to hear us talk about, you can jump on to any of our Facebook page, Western Idaho Paranormal or Canadian Paranormal Society, or both. I Want to Believe channel. Drop us a line. Or which one, Kathy?
The I Want to Believe channel.
Yeah, I Want to Believe channel. Yep. So, yeah.
Well, thank you guys for tuning in. And if you like the show, please subscribe to the channel, the I Want to Believe channel, and click on notifications. And we will be back next week with another show, and much the same content as what we discussed this week. And like Trevor said, if you have any comments or suggestions for the show, please leave them within the YouTube thread or comment on one of our media platforms.
Awesome. All right.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Have a great week.
Guys. Hey.